Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Jenny. How are you?
I tried to reach Kawhi before the show, but he was already in the lab. And, you know, now LeBron, he's still drinking tequila and doing podcasts.
Yeah.
You believe in this?
Yeah, JaMychal Green said he needed to go see the man about some heart.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little
Talk
bit.
about it, please. Let's do it.
Interesting that you tried to reach Kawhi, but he was just so busy. Well, what about the Lakers and LeBron? LeBron's been busy talking, according to reports. Well, how about this? The Lakers will be facing Luka and the Mavs on Christmas Day, just 3 days after the season tips off. Looking ahead to this season while appearing on the Road Trippin' podcast with Richard Jefferson, LeBron said that repeating was, quote, simple for the Lakers. He also said age and his newest teammates may be the reason. Take a listen.
If we can stay healthy, but we did get younger. We got the 27-year-old point guard. We got the 27-year-old Sixth Man of the Year award in Trez. We got younger.
With Mark.
We got Mark, who's a Defensive Player of the Year, and his IQ not only playing against him in the NBA, but also playing against him versus Spain.
Shannon, do you agree they got better because they got younger?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, I agree with that, LeBron saying they got better. But it's not just because they got younger. It's the quality of player in which they got younger with. Dennis Schroeder, 27 years of age, as LeBron mentioned. Trez Harrell, 27 years of age, Sixth Man of the Year. And you got two guys that averaged at least 18 points last year coming off the bench. And they're very, very, especially Trez is very, very motivated because he believes that the Clippers didn't believe in him. They gave up on him. They didn't like what he brought to the table, which was that the ferocity that he showed on the court. That he is hell-bent on getting every rebound, he brought that off the court. So he did, and the Clippers didn't feel he channeled it in the right way. And they said, you know what, we'd be better off moving on, going in a different direction. I like Wesley Matthews, another guy that's a 3-and-D guy. He can hit the three, he can defend, and that's what you're going to need. Here's the thing, Skip, at the end of the day, you're starting to see, and the Lakers only has basically 2 months off. And so you're going to play 72 games, and they're going to be really condensed. So you're going to play some back-to-backs, and they're going to be nights that LeBron does not play, but you're going to need somebody to initiate the offense. You're going to need to be able to get up and down. And I believe with Schroeder and Trez, you'll be able to do that. Also, there are going to be some nights AD probably does not play, and LeBron is going to have to rely on those other guys to make plays also. So I like what the Lakers have done. Yes, I believe they've gotten better. They've gotten younger, and they're in prime position. But as he mentioned, everything is going to be predicated on health, Skip. You got to get a little lucky. You got to be able to dodge that injury bug. And so I like what they've done. The Clippers still ain't got no point guard. And then Rondo screwed them. Rondo screwed him. Rondo said, nah, I'm good. Y'all losers. I don't want to play with anybody that had a 3-1 lead and gagged it off.
He also screwed you.
Skip.
He is no longer a Laker.
Skip, don't you think if we'd have wanted him, we could have offered him?
I think you probably did. I think you were chasing him. And he ran all the way to Atlanta for the money.
I think what happened was they had a good indication. And Rob Pelinka learned a valuable lesson last year on trying to pursue Kawhi Leonard up to the 12th hour.
Yep.
He says, I'm not going to get stuck with the bag this year. So I'm going to go out and make a trade for Dennis Schroeder. That way, we still would love to have Rondo back, but at our price. If we don't get him, we got Schroeder. We got a 27-year-old guy that averaged 18. Now, he's not the pure point guard, but he can shoot the three. He can penetrate. He can pick and roll with AD or LeBron. So I like what we have in that situation. But for you guys, blew a 3-1 lead, and I love what Jermichael Green. Skip, did you hear what he said yesterday about your team? Now, what did that? I just want to know. Let that have someone had a.
And tell the people where he is now.
Oh, he in Denver?
He left the Clippers and took the money at Denver.
Whoa,
2 years, $15 million. That sounds like a Rondo-esque contract.
Tell me, Skip. Why is it about he took the money? He said, I was with the team that was supposed to win the championship last year. We had a 3-1 lead, and for somebody that told me, and I heard everybody, they got a team full of dogs. Ooh, Kawhi, PG, Pat Bam, Marcus Morris, yada, yada, yada. And this man said, it just showed the type of heart that they had.
Not the Clippers. It showed the type of heart Denver had.
Right.
He's now a Nugget. Why wouldn't he say that in his opening press conference?
Whoa, Skip.
What are you talking about? How are you making such a big deal of this?
If your guys had heart, if your guys were those dogs, you get a 3-1 lead, you're not blowing that. You're not blowing a 3-1 lead with Kawhi, the best player on the planet, with playoff Paul, Pandemic P. How is that possible, Skip Bayless?
So what else did Jermichael Green say?
But here's the thing, Skip. And you got Ibaka. You got a little better. But did you know this, Skip? I don't know if you knew this. Did you know James Harden blocked more shots per game than Serge Ibaka? James Harden had more blocks.
I kept telling you all last year, James Harden is playing his tail off on defense.
No, tell me about how you got, Skip, to make a long story short, to answer Jenny's question, yes, the Lakers got better. It's not so much just the age of the guys, it's the quality of guys in which they got to make them better.
Okay, I'm going to start my remarks with the one you ended with. You took a shot at me because you're saying Jermichael Green. Jermichael Green. Who cares about him?
You like Jermichael Green last year?
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
He was in the rotation during the regular season, and then guess what? He slowly fell out of the playoff rotation. Maybe to the detriment of the Clippers, you could argue, but he fell out because he averaged 21 minutes a game in the regular season, and it kept falling down to 17 minutes in the post, as did his numbers. He averaged 6 points and 4 rebounds in the playoffs. Wow, they're crushed. They're devastated because they lost Jermichael Green to the Denver Nuggets.
What are you replacing with?
We got Marcus Morris. That's all I care about. We got the ultimate dog.
No. We got Keith.
Yeah.
Keith, the champion.
Which is the better of the twins?
Keith.
Oh, stop it. Look at their numbers. Look at their career
they got the same numbers.
Yeah, they don't have the same numbers. This guy is the ultimate. He's a bodyguard. He's a difference maker. He's a big shot taker and maker, and we kept him. That's all I care about. So now let's go to the biggest picture here. Fox Bet now has your team as the favorite. They were not the favorite last year because even all the way going into the playoffs, my team, the Clippers, was favored to win it all in the bubble. You are now a 3-1 favorite, and the Clippers has fallen into a tie with the Bucs for the second choice at 11-2. The Nets, and we're about to talk about KD, is back with the Nets. They're the third choice at 6-1 on Fox Bet. So now the NBA has rewarded you with a nice marquee game on Christmas Day, right? It's a marquee game, but one in which you are already favored by 8 points on some websites to win the game over the Dallas Mavericks.
So the Lakers
even though they have the next Larry Bird.
So let me ask you a question. The Lakers shouldn't be playing on Christmas? Because you said it like
this. No, they got rewarded with a home game. So I give you that because to the victor go the spoils.
So you want to put the champ on the road?
Okay? The Clippers got punished by being sent to the team that punished them in the playoffs, that embarrassed, humiliated, and just bum rushed them right out of the playoffs.
Well, Skip, we play in the same building. How you going to play 2 games?
I don't care because the Clippers deserved to win last year's championship, but they did not. They were pointing toward you guys, and they got to 3-1, and they said, okay, we're there. No, you're really not there because that other team can really play. And if you give them openings, they will run right through the door that you leave barely cracked open.
Sure did.
So my team in 3 straight closeout games had leads of 15 points, 19 points in the next game, and in Game 7, 12 points, and could not slam the door shut on Jokic and Jamal Murray, who are really, really good. And Denver is loaded top to bottom, and they got a tiny bit better because they put JaMychal Green in their rotation. I'm not sure that he will be a starter for the Denver Nuggets, but again, it was a nice add at 2 years, $15 million. So I will give you that. They are now, the Nuggets, a 4-point favorite over the Clippers on Christmas. I guess you'd say night. It's going to be later.
Can we get some dew?
Yep, I got due right now.
Oh, you got the Clippers?
Oh, yeah, I got the Clippers.
Okay, I got
the Clippers. Thank you very much. Okay, now back to your Lakers. And I loved it that LeBron is doing a podcast, the Road Trippin' Podcast.
Yeah.
And he is sipping tequila while he's doing it. And I'm just,
You don't have Lobos?
You know what? He is celebrated so hard in this very brief,
No, he did.
this abbreviated offseason. Is he still going to be hungover on Christmas Day? I don't know. I hope not. Because between wine and tequila, boy, he's going to the hard stuff. During the podcast, they said, I read this, that he was sipping tequila.
Okay, well, Skipper, you make it seem like he was chugging it.
Well, I don't know. I didn't watch
sipping,
it.
I mean, he was just
I saw the clips of it.
Nice,
I read all
mellow,
about what he
chill.
said. Okay, so his contention was, we got better because we got younger.
Right.
I'll give you that. He said, we got a 27-year-old point guard, and we got a 27-year-old sixth man of the year.
Right.
Yeah, you did. You got younger, but you got way dicier in your locker room because we have already talked about, and you have already acknowledged Dennis Schroeder's comments of 2 days ago.
Yes.
I hold them right here in my hand.
Yeah,
they are just scathing and shocking because he says this bench stuff I'm done with. I want to be a starter, and I should be the starting point guard for the Lakers. Last time I checked, that position belonged to the king. And Dennis Schroeder had the audacity, the nerve, the delusional, just brazenness to just step out there in his opening press conference and say, I want to start, and I want LeBron. I'm going to bring the ball up, and LeBron can play off the ball. You are kidding me.
Well, Skip, he might have got hit with one of them old Jake Paul punches on Saturday. That's why he said it.
Maybe. Okay, and even you said, uh-oh.
Yes.
All your alarms went off,
It
right?
did, yes.
Okay, the flag went up in the back of your mind like, whoops,
What are we
this
talking
could be a problem. So that's the first problem. And then guess what, ladies and gentlemen? My Clippers actually let Montrezl Harrell go because he was such a locker room problem. So now you have inherited or embraced our problem.
Yes.
He was a problem because he was becoming a star. He was on his way to winning Sixth Man of the Year, and he openly and brazenly and maybe delusionally challenged the two new stars of the Clippers, Kawhi and Paul George. There were occasions in the playoffs when Paul George deserved to be challenged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not publicly, but if you want to challenge him privately, but I think it got completely out of hand. It got where you could not even invite them to the same room anymore.
Skip, I think the problem that Trez had, and you have to understand your place in the pecking order, is that Trez wanted guys to play hard, practice hard all the time. And that wasn't going to be Kawhi and Paul George. And you have to understand, Trez, I can see if that's LeBron and AD questioning whether guys are playing hard, that's one thing. But when you got the two guys that the franchise are tied to, even though you're an up-and-coming player and you're a sixth man of the year and you're having an outstanding season, that's not going to go over well.
It's not going to go over well. So, addition by subtraction. The Clippers said, we've seen enough. This is more trouble than it's worth. And all of a sudden, the Lakers, the team upstairs at Staples, while the basement team said, we can't take this guy anymore, let's send him upstairs, you embraced our problem.
Yeah.
Good luck with that, because guess what happens when you win Sixth Man of the Year and you have an ego as big as Montrezl's, and he can usually back it up.
You come try to get that money because he know his free going to be up in a contract yet.
All of a sudden, the Sixth Man of the Year wants to be the Third Man of the Year and maybe even the Second Man of the Year, because he's going to start challenging LeBron and Anthony Davis to be tougher, be mentally tougher.
Skip.
Come on, you guys.
Skip.
You're choking.
You know, here's the difference is because Trez realized that the two superstars on his team has never been leaders. Kawhi Leonard was never a leader. Was he the leader in San Antonio, or was that Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, or Manu? Was he the leader in Toronto, or was that Kyle Lowry?
I don't know. I think he did take over.
Kyle Lowry was the leader. Kawhi Leonard had never. Skip, if you're the leader, if you're that guy, Kawhi Leonard's leadership style works well if everything is going along the road smoothly. But anytime there is a flat tire, anytime there's a check engine light comes on, he doesn't know what the hell to do because all he says is, I'm going to go play my game. Y'all figure it out. He's not calling a team meeting. He's not going to have a get-together where you bring all the guys together and y'all have a good time and you work it out. That's not him. I'm not saying Kawhi is a great player. Great players doesn't necessarily make great leaders. Great leaders not necessarily always a great player. So two things can be true. And I believe in this situation, they're very true.
So to fill the leadership void, the Clippers elevated Ty Lue, who all he did for LeBron was help him, guide him to winning a championship in Cleveland, right? And they also added to the staff two guys I have huge respect for. Larry Drew is now sort of the assistant head coach.
He was there in Cleveland.
He was there in Cleveland. Ty Lue and Larry Drew really know LeBron inside and out. They know his strengths, and they definitely know his weaknesses. So I love that they're in charge. They're in charge now. And I love it that Chauncey Billups has moved back out of the broadcast booth because he was the Clippers color commentator, back down to the bench chair where he's going to be seated alongside those two. Mr. Big Shot is now going to be helping teach these guys how to win basketball games. And I love that coaching staff.
Yeah, I love it too. But you remember what LeBron did when Chauncey, my dog, straight out of Washington High School in Denver.
Yes, he is.
But Skip, on Parker Road. Let me ask you this, Skip. You keep saying all these guys know. Was Tyronn Lue at the Clippers last year?
Yeah, he was sitting in the assistant's
So,
chair.
couldn't he tell
And
Doc?
look, I love Doc Rivers, and Doc is going to do not good things, but great things in Philadelphia with Embiid and Ben Simmons.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that in just a moment here on the show. But in the bigger picture, I believe that Doc's voice just rang hollow to this team. I think he got sick and tired of the bubble and of this team, and he was just throwing up his hands saying, you guys figure it out. You're up 15, you're up 19, you're up 12. You guys just do it. Go figure it out. They needed somebody to take over. And
That's what Kawhi for.
Yep. Okay, well, he was trying to take over.
No, I couldn't tell.
It's hard to sort of dribble the ball up and then go 1-on-2 and create
LeBron do that. LeBron did that for years.
Okay.
LeBron did that for years before he got AD.
Well, but he had AD last year.
You had Paul George.
Yeah, what have I always called him? George Paul, because he turns into George Paul. But during the regular season, he can defend at the highest level.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I could.
Look at what my guy did to him. See, this notion, Paul George, and Skip, you and I both know, Kawhi can, on his best defensive day, he can't stop LeBron from getting whatever he wants. Paul George, on his best defensive day, can't stop LeBron James from getting what he wants. You know that, I know that. But let me tell you what happened in the bubble, Skip. You remember that game they had with LeBron James? Well, you remember, what was that, March, right before the shutdown, when Phil Handy called, hey, go, what you want? Him. He refused. Yes, he did.
Phil Handy knows who the GOAT is. Trust me, that guy, Phil Handy knows it's Michael Jordan. Period, end of story. He would not even utter that kind of blasphemy.
Phil Handy said, go, what you want? Him. He refused to address him by name, but you knew who him was. And what did he do? Okay, we get down to the bubble, the first game. What did he do to him, Skip? Not only did he hit the game-winning basket, he said, I'm going to D you up, made him get a ball up to Paul George and locked Paul George up and made him shoot an air ball. That's what my guy can do in year 17. More to come. Stay tuned.
Younger and dicier. And so you also kept KCP only because you overpaid him dramatically because he's a Clutch client. So we know
Skip, guess what?
Clutch clients don't count against the Lakers salary cap. That's the new rule.
No, actually it's not. It's called the bird rights. You know what it's called, Skip Bayless. Don't do that.
You added Wes Matthews. He's a nice player, but he is not Danny Green. He is not the all-around player. And
yes, he is.
No,
He's better.
I'm sorry, he is not better. He has not been in these moments. Danny Green has been in huge moments in San Antonio and Toronto and L.A. And one thing about my man Danny Green, everywhere he goes, great things happen.
What did he do in the moment? So you go
he had one bad moment, but he had a lot of good moments. And by the way, speaking of Dallas versus L.A., it was on November 1st of a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm watching a game, and I look up, and Danny Green nails a three to win the game at Dallas. It was a huge win for your team.
But what did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, LeBron, what are you doing? You gonna dunk it and end the game?
I thought he was.
I know that. I did not know
he got
he
away with it. At the last second, it's like, whoops, what am I doing?
Skip,
I
he knew
better
what he was
kick it
doing.
over. I don't
Did
think
you
he had any
see
idea.
Dwight Howard sit in the back screen?
I saw him grab Seth Curry's jersey, and Seth Curry is now a Sixer, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. And speaking of Dwight Howard, I'm glad you brought that up because, wait a second, let me finish on your additions. Marc Gasol, you added Marc Gasol.
Yes.
Okay, in the playoffs last year, he averaged all of 6 points and 4 rebounds.
Right.
And he shot 19% from three.
Right.
And wait a second, the Clippers added Serge Ibaka, who had a career year last year with 15 points.
Not a career
8 rebounds.
defensive year.
I don't know about that. I think he's much better. I will take him over Montrezl Harrell, who is a defensive liability. One of the biggest reasons that the Clippers could not slam the door was Lou Williams did not want to be in the bubble. He is the closer, so his heart wasn't there. He left his heart at Magic City instead of Magic Kingdom. And Montrezl Harrell could not defend anybody. He might be about 6 feet, 6 inches tall. And Joker was a joke for him. That's what happened.
But Skip, let me ask you a question. How can the 7-foot center have fewer blocks than a point guard?
Okay, well, just watch. Watch Ibaka do a better job on Jokovic than this.
You think? Hold on. You think Serge is going to be able to stop Jokic?
Mm-hmm. Jokic, yeah. Yes, he'll be able to slow him down much better. Listen, Montrez, I would just sit back during the playoff games and say, "What are you doing?" It's like he doesn't even want to play defense. He gets lost on defense.
Skip, there is no shame in having Jokic drop 25 and 10 on you because that's what he's capable of. I mean, Skip, he can shoot the ball. He can wrong foot shots. He can put it on the floor and get to the rim. He's a solid, he can back to the basket. Jokic is legit.
So Marc Gasol is going on 36 years of age. And now LeBron's dropping hints on this podcast while sipping tequila that we just might get Pau Gasol out of mothballs? Really? He's 40 years old.
Why you worry about
He's going to be your backup center now?
Hello.
So you're going to go from JaVale and Dwight to
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, because I told you that I didn't second guess that, I first guessed it. What about when y'all got Joakim Noah? Oh, Joakim Noah, he fight LeBron James. He won't back down.
That was last year, okay? So he's gone. They've started over. They've cleaned house.
Well, y'all keep Skip. I mean, all these guys, y'all keep cleaning house.
Okay, well, here's what everybody keeps missing about your team. Nobody wants to focus on how much they lost because it's devastating how much. They lost playoff Rondo. He was your third best player in the bubble.
Yes.
You don't have him anymore.
If we get to, Skip, if you can get to the playoffs, but let me ask you a question. When has Rondo not gotten hurt in the last couple of seasons?
He wasn't hurt in the bubble.
Skip! Oh, Skip.
Through the playoffs, he was extraordinary.
Skip. The man has surgery.
Shots.
The guy has surgery on his thumb back-to-back years. And guess what, Skip? From March, and like you said, the 5-month hiatus gave us an opportunity to have him healed up. Okay. Remember, when we got to the bubble, he didn't start. He was not even playing.
Dwight Howard gave you edge and physicality that you're going to miss now.
Skip.
Unless you had Pau Gasol.
Let me ask you a question. Dwight Howard came in handy in 2 games, Skip. Against Portland, when he had to bang with Nurkic and the Whiteside and Yoke. That's it. What about the Rockets? What did he do against the Rockets?
Okay. What about JaVale? What about the energy and the length that you don't have anymore? What are you going to do about that?
Skip, but as we progressed in the playoffs, he played less and less.
Okay, fine. And that brings me to Avery Bradley, who was not there. He opted out. He had all kinds of solid, great reasons.
Great reasons.
With that.
Yes.
But he gave you such 3-and-D, and he was such a great unity player because he has a good guy nature to him. He's easy to live with. He's not Dennis Schroeder.
Skip, here's the thing, though, Skip. When you win a championship with a guy being there, it makes it easier for you to move on without that guy. Now, had they struggled in the bubble with defense and 3-point shooting, maybe it was like, okay, man, we got to get him back. But they won the title. They won the title without Avery Bradley.
Yeah. They won the title because in game 1 of the finals, Dragic got hurt, the leading playoff scorer for the Heat. And in game 1, right on schedule, Bam got hurt, the heart and soul of the Miami Heat run through the playoffs. How lucky can you get? LeBron's right. You got to stay healthy, Miami Heat, right?
Yeah, you do, Skip. But here's the thing, though. You're saying if Dragic stays healthy and Bam stays healthy, you think Jimmy Butler have 2 of those 2 historic games?
I don't know, maybe. Who knows? We didn't get to see.
And then what happened, Skip? He had that one game 5, and ran out of gas. My guy played 7 games like that. My guy played 6 games like that and don't miss a beat. And don't have 1 or 2. He have 5, 6, 7 games like that.
It's pretty easy when you got Anthony Davis and playoff Rondo.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And now you got a guy in Trez who's going to say, I want to be playoff Rondo because I think I'm the second best player on this team. Watch him make his case.
About this, Skip. We just spent 20 minutes talking about this segment, and I ain't mentioned no Baby Goat. I ain't even mentioned Baby Goat.
Who is Baby Goat?
You know who
I don't
he is.
even know.
6'10" from the west side of Chicago.
Wait, you mean that goat you brought in here?
Nah, that's it right there. AD, Anthony Davis, top 5 player.
Yeah. Well, he was the best player on your team last year.
It don't matter. He got a ring. He up there crying because he's like, this feeling.
Yep.
I heard what it was like, but to know it's about to happen, Skip, it's like, Skip, you get nominated for an award, and then you finally hear your voice, and you hear your name called, and the winner.
Yep. LeBron.
Just like that.
Have one for me. Yeah.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we can all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy. And I won't back down.
For the first time since his run with the Warriors ended with an Achilles injury 2 seasons ago, Kevin Durant said he feels good while playing. KD said he feels solid and isn't going to be focused on avoiding injury again, but instead playing as hard as he can, and he will deal with results later. So, Shannon, what do you expect from KD this season in his return?
Hell, I expect it to be KD. Hell, he's still 7 foot tall, Skip. Ain't like the Achilles shrunk in 5, 6 inches.
I hope not.
There's nothing wrong with his elbow. There's nothing wrong with his shoulder. And I get it, you know, the Achilles injury, Skip, and that used to be a death sentence for a basketball player. But Kevin Durant, Skip, Kevin Durant is not, he doesn't play above the rim. A lot of what he's predicated on is being able to stand out there and light you up from distance. Or he can put the ball on the floor, and I still believe he'll be able to put the ball on the floor and get to the mid-range. I still believe he can play with his back to the basket and get to the rim. So I don't see him being impacted by this injury, Skip. Like I said, he's still going to be able to shoot that ball at a 9-foot apex. You can't block it. So I expect Kevin Durant to be Kevin Durant. Great. Nothing, for me, in my mind, nothing changes about this guy. He's still a historically great player. He will continue to be a historically great player. And like I said, and I get, you know, I was listening to him and he says, you know, dealing with the Achilles injury, your non-weight bearing, Skip, you know, you can't walk on it. You got to relearn.
3 months.
Right. You got to relearn how to walk and, you know, run and do all these other things.
He said every other injury he's had took 3 months to get over, period.
Right.
And this took 3 months before you can even walk without your walker.
Your little motorized scooter. So for me, Skip, I expect Kevin Durant to be great. I don't see, I'm not going, oh man, all of a sudden, man, he don't look like Kevin Durant. Yeah, he is. Watch what happens. First game, he probably going to go out there and get your easy 25, 30, and you're like, yep, he back.
Okay. So you have just acknowledged that he is ready to regain his title of best player on the planet.
Skip.
That's what you just said. I believe I heard that from you.
I said Kevin Durant's going to be Kevin Durant. Nobody other than you thinks Kevin Durant's a better player than LeBron.
Yeah.
And it's okay. That's not a knock. That's not a knock.
So what did we see in back-to-back NBA
Skip, that was
finals?
2 years ago. That was 3 years ago. What about now?
So I'm here to tell you and to remind all of Laker Nation that the biggest break LeBron has ever gotten in his career came last year when there was no Kevin Durant to upstage him in the finals, because I believe he would have. The biggest break LeBron got, and he talked about how injuries dictate. You got to stay healthy.
Right.
Well, obviously, Kevin Durant did not stay healthy. I thought he might be ready to return for the bubble, for the playoff run with his new team, the Nets. I thought Kyrie was cleared to play. And at the last second, neither played, obviously.
So he got an extra 6 months to recover because that was a 12-month injury from June to June, and now he's coming back in July. I mean, in December.
All I know is that in back-to-back Game 3s in the King's Palace, in LeBron's house in Cleveland, Kevin Durant upstaged him and outplayed him and proved to me with the weight of the NBA world on his shoulders, because everybody wanted to see Kevin Durant fall on his face after he left Oklahoma City to join forces with Steph and Clay, Draymond. And Kevin Durant was the difference maker. He was the MVP. He took over back-to-back Game 3s and showed you he's just a better player than LeBron James.
Skip. He was on the better team.
That team lost to LeBron.
Okay, but let me ask you a question, Skip. So you're telling me if LeBron James is on that same Warriors team, they're not going to win the title?
They needed something. They needed a difference maker.
I just asked you a simple question, Skip.
I don't know. Maybe he would have been. Maybe. But Kevin Durant's a better player because he's such a better scorer. And do you realize what he had done in the last year that we saw him healthy, going into those playoffs? Do you realize in that final year in Golden State, he averaged 6 assists? That was just one off the team lead, which was Steph. Do you realize that once again, in that third and final year in Golden State, he led that team in win shares, a second-level stat that shows you just how valuable he is? Do you realize that going into those playoffs, where infamously his season ended abruptly, in those playoffs, he still played 12 games?
Yeah.
Do you realize he averaged 32 points a game in those 12 playoff games he did play? Do you realize that led by far the playoffs in scoring?
Yeah.
Do you realize he shot 44% from 3 in those first 12 games that he did play in the playoffs? He was on a roll. He was on his way to winning, I think, a third straight finals MVP, and then fate intervened, unfortunately, for him, right?
Skip. So, in other words, you're saying that you believe Kevin Durant is a more valuable player to a team than LeBron James.
Well, he averages 6 assists, and he is as lethal from mid-range as anybody this side of Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Outside of his first year, LeBron James has never averaged less than 6 assists a year since his rookie season.
That's not what Kevin Durant does. He does not play point guard.
Okay, so what does LeBron do? So what does Kevin Durant...
How valuable is 6 assists from a 7-footer?
Okay, so what about rebounding? He's 7 foot tall. Does he average more rebounds?
Nope, he does not.
Okay, he's 7 foot tall. Does he average more pounds?
What about rim protection? He can really protect the rim, and he made a case 2 years ago, so it was now 3 years ago, that he wanted to be defensive MVP.
How many times have you been first team all defense?
Well, he thinks he's been in the running for player of the year.
Skip, ain't no running.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you a simple question.
I'm just saying, on rim protection, I will take him.
Skip, you know LeBron used to sit in the chair. LeBron could all them chase downs. You say that is that rim protecting? The chase down block, is that rim protection?
Those surprise attacks.
There you go.
That's all for show.
Skip, is it rim protection?
No, not really. Rim protection is standing in the paint and guarding the...
Skip, that's not what KD does. KD was great at weak side help. He was coming off and blocking shots meeting people at the rim. It's okay. Skip, see, what you try to do is you try to turn me and say, I'm hating on Kevin Durant. I'm not hating on Kevin Durant. I believe Kevin Durant will pick up where he left off. My concern isn't about Kevin Durant. My concern is about Kyrie and his injury history and how he's missed 112 games in the regular season and the postseason. Kevin Durant can play with anybody. Hell, he spent 8 years with Russ and still averaged 27. He went with Clay, Steph, and Draymond and averaged 26 and went to the finals 3 times and won 2. I'm not worried about KD. Kyrie is more concerned with his injury history and how is he going to play with KD when KD start getting all that major shine.
Andre Iguodala, obviously a big KD fan, played with him, obviously, years in Golden State, now a Miami Heat, has already predicted that Kevin Durant will win the MVP. And I'll co-sign.
Skip, what does that mean? Well, okay, I'm predicting that Giannis Antetokounmpo will win 3 straight. That ain't nothing. Forget Andre Iguodala to say that. But, Skip, you keep telling me...
Kevin Durant does have a couple of rings as opposed to the guy you just mentioned who has no rings.
Oh, but Skip. Kevin Durant went and joined the team. So let me ask you a question. If Clay comes back healthy and Giannis goes and join Clay and Steph, or he joins LeBron and AD.
I've told you about Giannis. He's a complimentary superstar.
It does not matter.
Kevin Durant is a takeover superstar.
He had to take, guess what he had to do? He had to take all of his bags over to Golden State so he can win a ring. If he's what you said he was, he could have done that in OKC.
Kevin Durant won an MVP having to deal with and rise above and win in spite of Russell Westbrook.
And guess what? That same guy, when KD left, he won the MVP. And with 3 straight years of triple-doubles. So don't make it seem like Russell's a bum.
Lose the whole show. I mean,
Don't make it seem like Russell's a bum,
it's like,
Skip.
give me the ball and get out of my way.
Skip.
Way to go.
Again, I'm not diminishing KD. KD is historically great. And I believe he will be historically great again. But let me ask you a question.
As Iguodala once said, there's never been a more efficient scorer than Kevin Durant. That he'll take 15 shots and get you 30. It's just like
we see
effortless.
LeBron do that.
Yeah.
We just saw LeBron do that last year. Skip, but see, here's the thing. Everybody says Kevin Durant so efficient score. He and LeBron average the same amount of points per game. A guy that averages more assists, more rebounds, average the same amount of points as a guy that averages fewer points excuse me.
Who's the better three-point shooter? Help me out.
KD is a better shooter.
Not even close. Who's the better free throw shooter by about 10 miles? Kevin Durant. In those playoff games, those 12 he played when last seen,
yes.
he made 90% of his free throws.
And guess what, Skip? Skip, he's a better three-point shooter. He's a better free throw shooter. And guess what? LeBron averages a tick more points per game than Kevin Durant.
So I've told you that Doc Rivers is going to do great things with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Seth Curry, his son-in-law. I like that team, but they're going to be a 1A team to me, to the Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are loaded top to bottom. And again, you raise a great question, a fair question. How will Kyrie and KD fit? I just believe that because KD does not need the basketball, it will be a great
I'm
fit.
not worried about KD.
Yeah.
KD is the least of my problem.
Yeah, so we got KD, who won back-to-back MVPs basically in LeBron's house, and we got Kyrie, who made a shot that helped win LeBron a ring in Cleveland.
But why can't Kyrie win that by himself? Why couldn't he do that in Boston? He was supposed to be the guy to get them over the hump. Okay, KD is historically great. Why did he need to go join a 2-time MVP? You're one of those time unanimous. The only unanimous MVP, a guy that was also a 50, 40, 90 guy. Steph Curry averaged 30 points, shot 50% from the floor, had 40% from the three, and 90% from the free throw line. So why did KD, if KD is that, why would he go do that?
I don't know. I'm still reading that LeBron now wants Greek Freak to come join him in L.A. He needs all the help he can get.
You ain't have no problem with Tom Brady going to look up with players?
Well, he got pushed out the back door.
Okay. So you getting pushed out means you got to go to Tampa.
Okay? So I want to remind everybody, it's now Kevin Durant and Kyrie joining Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie and Jared Allen and Joe Harris, who can just shoot the lights out.
He can.
And Taurean Prince and DeAndre Jordan is still there. And Landry Shamet just went from the Clippers to the Nets, so you got that shooter. Jeff Green, who is a really good, nice player. Like a pro.
Yeah.
He's a pro basketball player. Yes, they did. And Tyler Johnson, who I've always liked. That's how deep that team goes right now. That's got to be the favorite. Coached by a first-year coach in Steve Nash, who's never coached a dribble in the NBA. But look at this staff. He's got Mike D'Antoni. He's got Jacques Vaughn. He's got
Stoudemire's on the staff too now.
He is, but Ime Udoka, who used to be Popovich and then went to Philly, and he's now on that staff. I just love him. He should be a head coach. Somebody give him a shot, but he's on that staff. Stoudemire's on that staff. And my man Tiago Splitter is on that staff, and he has high basketball IQ. That's a coaching staff there.
Now you want to talk about Tiago Splitter.
Yeah.
When my guy blocked this dunk.
Okay.
You remember that?
You know, you should be ashamed that you take credit for that because I can out-jump Tiago Splitter.
Rim protection.
I can.
That was rim protection.
I can.
He was playing the 5. Rim protection. You love rim protection.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
How can you take any credit for that? It's laughable. Out there in TV land right now, they're all just laughing at you.
But KD will be fine. There's nothing wrong.
Be real
There's
fine.
nothing wrong with his elbow. There's nothing wrong with his shoulder. And hopefully he stays healthy the entire season. I'm not worried about KD being KD. I expect him.
You should be worried about him becoming the best player on the planet once again.
Think about it. Becoming. My guy there. My guy been saying, nobody has been on Mount Everest, Mount Olympus,
I thought you
Kilimanjaro, longer than my guy.
I thought you just acknowledged that he wasn't even the best player on his own team last year.
Who?
Your guy. The lowercase goat, as in barnyard.
No. I say baby goat.
Yeah.
That's AD.
Oh, okay.
And then, we got big goat.
Big goat.
Makes a lot of sense.
Hater. You need to stop hating, Skip.
Big goat, I
Truth
understand. It makes total sense. I actually want to talk about some quarterbacks, guys. Through 12 weeks of the season, Aaron Rodgers was named the first-team All-Pro quarterback, according to Pro Football Focus. They gave the nod to Rodgers over Mahomes, who was named to the second team, thanks to the Packers quarterback having 3 games with a grade above 90 this season. So, Shannon, did they get this right?
I don't believe they did. Now, these are 2 of my favorite quarterbacks, and I've kind of been on their bandwagon for the Aaron Rodgers since we get on there. And
driving both bandwagons.
I've been riding. I ain't been driving, Skip. I've been riding. I've been the catbird seat. Had a nice beard over my homeboy.
Yeah.
Look, I believe these right now, Skip. These are the 2 best quarterbacks in football, and Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. It's hard to argue that. I mean, like I said, you look at what Mahomes has done, Skip. He's at the top in every statistical category. Passing yardage, yards per attempt, completion. He's higher than Rodgers in completion percentage. He has 400 more yards. Yes, he has 4 fewer touchdowns, but he has 2 fewer interceptions. He's 10-1. Rodgers is 8-3. Mahomes has 4 games this year of at least 350 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Rodgers has 1. Skip, I mean, you're the gap between 1 and 2 is close, but I don't believe the gap between 2 and 3 is as close as the gap is between 1 and 2. But I would take Mahomes because I believe Mahomes, and I find it very ironic because Pro Football Focus and you hitched your wagon to that. Pro Football Focus said at the beginning of the year, Aaron Rodgers was not a top 50 player entering into the 2020 season. That's what you said. You also came out here and read.
I just read what they wrote.
Thank you. You came out here for like 3-4 days in a row, and you read what Pro Football said. They said, I think we're going to talk about this a little bit about Aaron Rodgers being washed up. You said it, and I said last year. I said Aaron Rodgers had a better year last year than Tom Brady. He'll have a better year this year than Tom Brady. And you laughed at it. And Pro Football Focus co-signed that foolishness, and you bought it. So if I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. If you say Aaron Rodgers, you said Aaron Rodgers the best quarterback in the league, which you fought me for the last 4 years. So if I just want to hear you say it, even if it ain't my homeboy, for you to sit here right now and say Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in football.
Wait, I haven't spoken yet. What are you laughing at? I haven't said a word.
Okay, go ahead.
So is it my turn now?
It's your turn.
Okay, so they have ranked just on pure rating, quarterback rating. They say Aaron Rodgers has had a little better season up to this point than Patrick Mahomes has had. 1 and 2, which puts you in an awful position because you can't, you're just stuck.
I got my homeboy.
Yeah, so you're saying Mahomes has had a better year than
I believe
Aaron
he
Rodgers.
has, yes.
Okay, I'm here to tell you that neither would be my MVP at this stage of the year, and I'll get to that in a moment, but I'm going to have to discount their 2 cases first. Let's go to your guy, who you say should be the best quarterback in pro football.
No, he ain't no should be, he is.
Okay, think of his degree of difficulty. It's not as high as some people might think because people overlook the fact right now, Kansas City's defense is 6th in points allowed, 6th in the whole NFL. It's getting close to being a top 5 defense. Do we hear Shannon Sharp talk about that? Not at all. All I hear is liability on defense. They can't rush the passer, and their back end can be shaky. It can be half. 6th in points allowed? Are you kidding me? That's pretty great. And by the way, it came so clear to me in the first quarter of the game at Tampa Bay on Sunday afternoon, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have the best weapon. He has the 2 best weapons, and I don't think it's even close because Tyreek is the best wide receiver in pro football. Done deal. Over and out. Nobody can run with this man. Nobody can run routes with this man. Nobody can catch with this man because he doesn't drop anything. He snatches any and everything. And I know he's only like 5'10" or whatever he is, but wherever it is in his catch radius, he is going to go get it.
Right.
And listen, Travis Kelce as the tight end, as a pass-catching tight end, which is what they need him to do. Let's forget about blocking. Let's forget about all the other trappings of playing tight end. Just as far as running receiver-type routes the way Shannon Sharp did, there's nobody more athletic, quicker, more savvy, more skilled. He's just special.
Yes.
And Patrick Mahomes, benefits hugely from having the two best weapons in all of pro football.
Well,
Am I right?
He does, but here's the thing what makes this so amazing. Andy Reid traded up 17 spots to get him because remember, Skip, you remember what they
Traded
did?
up to get
Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
But you remember what happened on that opening Thursday night. Alex Smith threw for like 360 against the Patriots, and Kareem Hunt had his coming out party. And Andy Reid says, I'm still not getting the maximum value out of this offense because of the quarterback.
Okay. All right, fine. Okay, so if you want me to admit to you that Patrick Mahomes is better than Alex Smith, you got me. I will give you that one.
You know what? You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Pro Football Focus also wrote just a week ago that Patrick Mahomes has had an inconsistent year. And by his standards, defending Super Bowl champ, reigning Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes, I look at a couple of games that he's had, actually 3 games now. At home, they beat New England 26-10, and he was just sloppy all day and had a QBR of 52, which is just 2 ticks above average. And then
what was Aaron Rodgers' QBR against?
wait a second, I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes right now. Then at Denver, your old stomping ground.
Yes.
Boy, he was really shaky in that game. He went 15 of 23 for only 200 yards. Did throw a touchdown. Didn't have a pick, but his QBR was a dead flat average 50 because they went 0 for 8 on 3rd down. Is that the runaway best quarterback in football? Okay. Then we get to Sunday. That game, the harder I look at it, gets more and more overrated because obviously Todd Bowles decided to single cover Tyreek in the first quarter with Carlton Davis, who is not a Blazer, has no chance of single covering Tyreek because really nobody does. And as Patrick said after the game, it's the first time I've ever seen anybody single cover him, and so we were taking advantage of it.
Right.
He had 203 receiving yards after a quarter. That's impossibly great.
But Skip, you didn't have no problem with Todd Bowles single covering and Devontae Adams. You had no problem with him single covering all these other receivers.
Okay.
So what's the problem
My point is that game was a first quarter game. They jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and then they held on for dear life because the rest of the, if we go to the second half, Patrick Mahomes threw for only 103 yards in the second half. That's not great. He lost the second half 17-7. For the game, he was 0 for 3 in the red zone, in which he went 2 for 6 on passing for 8 total yards in the red zone. That's no good.
Can I ask you a question, Skip? This is what Patrick Mahomes did do. He threw for more yards in the first half than all the other quarterbacks threw for the entire game this past weekend. But you said he didn't do anything.
If you throw 203 yards to one receiver in the first quarter, you're off to the races, man.
Skip, you'd have a valid argument if they had lost the game. But you see what he did?
They almost did.
No, they didn't. They wasn't even close.
Well, now, I'm going to keep going here because he threw 2 interceptions in the second half, both nullified by penalty. Interesting.
But that don't count.
Well, I'm just saying they got nullified, but he threw them. And then late in the first half, it was 1st and goal at the 8, and he had a chance just to drive in the final nail to the coffin. And he gets sacked, and he's careless with the football, and he fumbles, and it's recovered by Tampa Bay. And then in the third quarter, he had a chance to blow the game open 34-10, and Mecole Hardman is just running uncovered in the middle of the football field. He just missed him. One of those nonchalant, too cool for school throws. He just missed him.
But here's the thing.
Okay, I can't help it. Is that a great game? Is that an MVP performance?
Yeah, Skip. 462, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, and a 91 QBR, which is a stat that you hang your hat on. But let me ask you this, Skip. If he's not as good, I mean, the guy's on pace to throw for 43 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. 43. I mean, how many guys can say, you know what? I threw for 5,000 yards once, let alone twice.
Okay.
I got 2. He's going to have 2 seasons with 40 or more touchdowns if he does that.
Now I go to Aaron Rodgers. I do give him this on degree of difficulty. He is backed up by a defense that is 19th in points allowed, so it's not nearly as solid as the Kansas City defense is. But he does have a guy that the case has been made for the last month, Devontae Adams. He might be the best receiver. I don't think he is. I think it's Tyreek, but he's right there. He might be 1A right now. So you do have that weapon to fall back on. And then if Pro Football Focus is saying he's the best player up to date, what are we through, 11 weeks or whatever it is of the season? Now it's getting all screwed up by all the mess that's going on. I don't even know.
You got a game today, got to get the bar.
Okay, I got it. But if you look at what happened at Tampa Bay to Aaron Rodgers, he had a QBR of 12, scale of 0 to 100, because obviously they jump out to a 10-0 lead, then pick 6, near pick 6, and he goes the last 3 quarters and doesn't score a point. And then against Jacksonville at home, he had a QBR of 42.
So
at Indy, He's up 28-14 at half just the week before Tampa Bay.
Right.
And in the second half, he was horrendously bad, and they needed a late drive for a field goal to tie the score and go to overtime.
So you making my case. So Aaron Rodgers has had 2 games that's lower than my homeboy's lowest
All
game.
right, fine. But now let's talk about 2 other quarterbacks, shall we? Because how is Big Ben Roethlisberger not in this case? I know he doesn't have these kind of staggering stat-padded numbers that these guys have.
Stat-padded, huh?
That's what they do. They get down, it's first and goal at the 1, and they throw a touchdown pass. Okay, way to go.
What about your guy?
Okay. I'm just talking about Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay.
He has been off the charts this year in playmaking. When it's time to make a play, he makes plays.
Yes.
Even when they were in trouble at Dallas up against Garrett Gilbert, he made late throws and plays where I'm saying that's just too good. That's vintage Big Ben. So at 10-0, even though he's got the #1 defense in points allowed, why isn't he in this conversation right now if we're talking about MVP? And then this brings me to Russell Wilson. I know he went through a stretch where he threw too many interceptions. It's because his defense is one of the worst in pro football. As you know, they went into the Philly game dead last in yards allowed, and in points allowed, they're 26th in points allowed. So he is always trying to do more than he should try to do. You know, he won't take the easy ones. He's trying to throw home runs right and left. And as we know, as we've seen in Tampa Bay, those kind of attempts, that kind of gambling will lead to interceptions. So Russell Wilson's degree of difficulty is very high. I'm not discounting his MVP bid right now.
But let me ask you a question. So who you got? Is it Mahomes or is it Rodgers?
Between those two is who's had the better year?
Yeah.
I think Aaron's had the better year just because of the defense. Okay, I'll give you that. Well, I do. But I'll still take Big Ben for MVP right now.
Stop it.
Well, what do you mean stop it? They're 10-0.
Hold on. I haven't heard
Who saw that coming?
Hold up. I hadn't heard you mention anything about Tom Brady. We talked about Mahomes. We talked about Rodgers. We talked about Big Ben. We talked about Russell Wilson. And I have yet to hear you mention Tom Brady.
Well, they've lost 3 straight home games because they have a horrendous defense.
I tell you that. You know what never happened?
Brady's defense just yanked him right back out of the MVP race.
You know what never happened when he was Coach Belichick? Lose 3 games in a row. That never happened.
Well, he never had a defense this bad.
Oh, really? So are you giving Coach Belichick some credit again? I sound like you giving Coach Belichick some credit.
Except for that last year in New England when that defense it was starting to stink.
Don't do that, Skip. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No mercy.
Bruce Arians hasn't held back from criticizing Tom Brady after losses. It was also reported this week from a source close to Brady that the head coach was trying to deflect blame to his starting quarterback with his comments. Despite all of this, Brady yesterday said, quote, "I've got a great relationship with BA and we talk every day. Got a lot of respect for him and how he runs the team and so forth." So, Shannon, are you buying that they have a, quote, great relationship?
Hell no. I can't trust anything Brady says when he says about his head coach because for years and years and years, he said he had a great relationship with Coach Belichick, and we know that not to be true. And so, Skip, we've heard him gush, how fortunate he is to play for Coach Belichick all the while, basically like seething at some of the things that this man has tried to do to him. We heard him even when they had the 100th anniversary team in their own stage, and they're gushing about what a privilege it is to coach Tom Brady and what a privilege it is. And all the while, Coach Belichick knows he's trying to get rid of Tom Brady. All the while, Tom Brady knows Coach Belichick is trying to get rid of him. After he tried to with Jimmy Garoppolo, and Tom Brady had to go upstairs and talk to Mr. Kraft because Coach Belichick was going to move on from Tom Brady. So this notion that Tom Brady all of a sudden, and after this man has publicly criticized you from day one, Skip, after the first game, I don't know what happened because he made all those throws in practice. Oh, I don't know what's going on. He never missed a read in practice. And all of a sudden, you got a great relationship when nobody has ever called you out like this publicly.
Nope.
Your head coach is calling you out like this, and you say you got a great relationship. No, we know that's not true, Skip. We know he does not have a great relationship. And he's probably, if like you said, Skip Bayless, put him on truth serum, and he's probably thinking to himself, I don't know the hell all this hoopla is about. What is this offensive guru or this quarterback whisperer?
Who is he?
Yeah, I'm like,
what's he ever done?
I've had position coaches that's never going to be a head coach that's better than what this guy is.
I agree.
That's what he's thinking.
That's what he's thinking.
So for Tom Brady to say this, I don't believe it.
Neither do I. I believe everything you just said. And yet, my takeaway from this is, if you step back, nothing speaks to Tom Brady's greatness more than this quote: "I have a great relationship with Bruce Arians." He later said to Jim Gray, and he kind of lets his hair down for Jim a little bit.
Right.
He'll be a little more honest with him, but he says, "That's never been my style." Well, it just hasn't.
Right.
He's not going to go at it publicly with his new head coach. And I loved what he said later in this interview. He said, "I don't think I've ever thought, man, this is a problem," about anything that's ever happened to him in pro football or college football for that matter. "I think you try to critically evaluate how you have performed, how," he says, "how you think you can help the team better in a more detailed way, and then you've got to go put in the work." Okay, those are words to live by for every young player out there, because he can't erase Bruce Arians right now. He's not going to go in and demand that he's fired right now. You got to figure it out on the fly. And it's really up to you, because Bruce is not going to be on the field when they come back after their bye week against Minnesota.
Correct.
He's not going to be able to do anything. He's not going to be able to help you at all when it's time to play the football game. So you better figure out your ways to fight through it, to figure it out and get better. So he's saying, basically to me, I've got to win in spite of him. That was his mantra with Bill Belichick. He never loved it. He never loved getting criticized privately in front of the team by Bill Belichick.
Of course not.
Scathingly, because you wouldn't have loved it either.
Nobody. Aaron, well, I don't. No, you don't.
No,
you don't like being criticized because
in fact, to me, that hurts even more than public criticism, because it's in front of the people that you respect the most.
Yes.
Your brothers that you're living with.
Correct.
And he's calling you out and belittling you and trying to humble you and make you small in front of the team. Okay, he lived with that for 20 years. And he occasionally had to rise above it and win in spite of it.
Correct.
So to me, Brady is the ultimate win in spite of superstar. He is a coach's dream, because he's not going to fight back there. He'll fight back on the field.
Right.
He goes psycho Tom on the field. He will compete, but he will not compete with his head coach. And I agree with you that he did at one point, was it 2017, he had no choice, because it was about to be do or die for him in New England. And I don't know if he went upstairs or just went after practice over to Mr. Kraft's house.
Right.
But he went and knocked on that door and said, "Hey, I just want you to understand what's about to happen here. So it's going to be him or me."
Right.
And he had to do that, because it was either I'm going to be in New England or I'm not going to be here anymore.
So was the relationship, the great relationship, because Skip, remember they released that statement before the Jacksonville game. "Oh, none of that. That's just, tabloid fodder and everything. We have a great relationship here," knowing all the while that wasn't the case. Somebody tries to get rid of you, Skip.
Yeah.
You're not going to have,
No way.
you're not going to have no great relationship.
No. And to Jim Gray, I keep bringing this up, he did a conference out here in Santa Monica after they lost the Super Bowl to Philadelphia, 41-33. And he was asked if he said, do the head coach and the owner show you the appropriate gratitude? And Tom said, "I plead the fifth."
Right.
That was the closest he ever got to a public criticism of Bill Belichick. And just, you could throw in Robert
Well, I
Kraft.
think Mr. Kraft had his back to the umpteenth degree. But I think at this last time, Mr. Kraft stood down and says, "Okay, Bill, it's going to be your call." But eventually still, once he found out that Tampa had offered him what they'd offered, the Patriots were willing to match that, Skip.
Yep.
They were willing to match it, but Tom was like,
I agree.
good.
He had enough of this guy. And remember, he had to win in spite of a receiving core in New England that eroded by the year. It just got less and less until finally they were dead last in separation a year ago. And the tight ends, you can't even remember who they were.
Right.
And some of them, the no-names are still there, starting with Ryan Izzo. And yet the point was where I couldn't get you to give Brady any credit. He almost won in spite of that receiving core. He in that final game against Miami, the final home game, he drove his team against a Miami defense that was getting better, because they had upset Philadelphia, remember, and had pulled off a couple of big wins late in the year. He drove his team, as he always does in the fourth quarter, for what looked like the game-winning touchdown. And then Belichick's defense, which the wheels were just coming off all the way for the last 8 games, they let Ryan Fitzpatrick go 83 yards in 13 plays, including a last-second 5-yard touchdown pass to Gesicki. that beat them at home and cost them the 2 seed. So he, in spite of the receiving core, in spite of his disintegrating relationship with Bill Belichick, he still got that team almost to the 2 seed. Well, I give him credit for that. You give him none.
But Skip, also, no, I mean, it's difficult. We see that some of the issues that Cam is having up there. I mean, you do need weapons, and Brady says basically, I'm getting out of here. I'm going not only where there's nicer weather, but there's nicer receivers also, Skip. But I think the thing is, Skip, is that we have a perception of what we see. It's like anything. I'm over here and I'm looking at guys like, man, that guy can really play. Man, that guy can really do that. And then you get said player. You're like, well, hold on. I saw you make that throw all the time over there. I saw you do this all the time over here. Why you can't do this right now? And Skip, basically, Bruce Arians is saying that. He said, well, I mean, he never missed those throws. I've never seen Tom Brady miss a throw. I've never seen Tom Brady miss a read. And guys are open. Skip, when you last time you heard a head coach say, well, guys are open, we're just missing them?
Never, ever, ever.
Especially a guy like that. I mean, that is not something, you say that about, some of these lesser tier quarterbacks. Okay, I get that. But you're talking about the creme de la creme of quarterbacks, and you're so outwardly and openly critical of his play.
And it smacks of, don't look at me, don't blame me. So I agree with you. I believe Tom Brady agrees with every point you just made, but he is not going to voice this publicly because it doesn't do you any good.
No.
He would blow it up here late in the season, and he's just saying, I'm going to put my head down and try to figure this out.
All I know is if Bruce Arians is not there next year, somebody's a coach killer. No, that's all I'm saying. If Bruce Arians needs to be on that job.
Well, Tom Brady's about to go try to save Bruce Arians' job.
You don't need to save it. He need to save his own job.
Yeah.
Well, how about play better? Like you said, the details, what can I do better?
Okay.
You can play better.
Okay.
You cannot turn the football over.
Everything you just said, he said.
Okay.
I got to play a lot better.
A lot better.
Okay. That's the GOAT talking.
Well, I mean, no matter how much better you play, you can't catch it with old goat, little tiny goat Mahomes boy. That's over. That ship sailed. You'll never be better than him again.
Who was lucky to win 1 Super Bowl.
Skip, that's in year 3. He about to follow that thing up.
Okay. All right.
No mercy.
Appearing on the Road Trippin' podcast with Richard Jefferson, LeBron said that repeating as champs was, quote, simple for the Lakers. He also said age and his newest teammates may be the reason. Take a listen.
If we can stay healthy, but we did get younger. We got the 27-year-old point guard. We got the 27-year-old Sixth Man of the Year award in Trez. We got younger.
With Mark.
We got Mark, who's a Defensive Player of the Year, and his IQ not only playing against him in the NBA, but also playing against him versus Spain.
Some confidence. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard is joining us now. So, Chris, do you agree they got better because they got younger?
Well, LeBron looks awfully confident. Was that tequila he was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, we be on that tequila. Yeah, we be on it.
He should be confident. The Lakers look great. I've said it before. I'll say it again. They are going to be better. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'll give you this. They lost one thing. Athleticism at the rim in Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee departing. But as LeBron said, Marc Gasol and Montrezl Harrell, they're different types of bigs, but they can more than make up for what they lost in those two guys that moved on. Gasol, as he said, basketball IQ is great. And you still got AD. AD is, one of the best shot blockers in the league, so he'll be fine at the rim. And the thing is, AD, I expect him to be much better, solely because of the confidence he will have gained from winning a championship. He's 27 years old. And
that's another 27-year-old we got.
Just hitting his prime. Yeah, he is going to be much better because now he knows no one can mess with me. Nobody. I mean, he may go for MVP and try to prove he's the best player in the world. So I think that in and of itself is going to help. Let's get to the elephant in the room. Dennis Schroeder. I know people are thinking this could be a big deal. Schroeder said he's going to start. I honestly do not think it's going to be a big deal. I don't know what the Lakers' plan is. He said that they talked to his agent and everything seems like he's going to be penciled in as the starter. I've seen reports that said that's not the case. They're going to play it by ear and let him earn the position. Whatever the case, Schroeder has shown last year that he could come off the bench and play well, and that he could play with Chris Paul and with SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So he could play on the ball or off the ball, even if he starts. LeBron last year had the ball, at times had the ball out of his hands and was more of a scorer. They put him at the pinch post, the elbow, things like that. So they can do that. And then at times, Schroeder can indeed have the ball, or LeBron can have the ball, and Schroeder can play off it like he did at times last year. He's improved dramatically as a three-point shooter. Even shot almost 39% from three on 5 attempts a game last year. And look, if he comes off the bench, I'm sure he wanted to start in Oklahoma City. He had started 2 full seasons in Atlanta and averaged 19 points and 6 assists. So he thought of himself as a starter.
Right.
He goes to OKC, ends up coming off the bench. He was fine. Remember, last year of his contract, the last thing he wants to do going into free agency is disrupt a championship team, have issues with LeBron James. That would not be a good look for him going into free agency. So if he does have to come off the bench, I'm sure it'll be fine. He'll get his points, he'll get his minutes, and he probably will get a ring.
I forgot about the most important 27-year-old. Yeah, that's on this space my mind. Oh, hey, D, baby goat, 27-year-old Schroeder, 27-year-old Trez Harrell. And it's not so much the age per se, it's the quality of the age of the player that we got. We feel the need. Rob Pelinka basically said, Chris, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to go to the 10th hour, get left with the bag, because we tried that with Kawhi, and we had to scramble and fit pieces together. Now, it came together, and it worked out very well, but I'm not doing that again. The moment he probably got word that Atlanta was going to throw a ton of money at Rondo, he's like, okay, let me try to find me a point guard. And that's what he did. He went out and got a point guard. Rondo was unbelievable, but we know at points in time during the regular season, Rondo is going to get injured, or he has gotten injured over the last several years. Trez Harrell, and granted, I love the fact that we got a guy that's motivated, that's hungry. His type of mentality, it seems to me, and what was supposed to be a team full of dogs, they only had 2, and it seemed like it was Trez and Lou Williams, because everybody else were porch puppies. And JaMychal Green made note of that. I don't know if you heard his quotes, Chris. He said we had a 3-1 lead, and one team showed a lot of heart, and we called it, packed it in.
He did not say that.
That's what he said.
He did not say. You just put words.
What did he say? There it is, right there. There it is, right there.
He didn't say we packed it in. He said the Nuggets showed a lot of heart. He's now a Nugget. So what else is he going to say?
Chris, hold on. If I got a 3-1 lead, I'm up 3-1. And I lose to that team, and I'm on the team that had the 3-1 lead, and he said, well, they had a lot of heart. What are you saying about me? What are you saying about us? We lack something.
He knows it was all types of mess going on in that locker.
It sure was.
He knows it as well as anybody.
But Skip, I know. See, what Skip's trying to do, Chris.
I haven't spoken yet.
No. He going to talk about, hey, LeBron talking about it's going to be real simple. It is very, very simple. If we come out here and play, it's like the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. All Mahomes, defense don't give up 40 points. We could. Lakers saying, you know what? If we can stay healthy and our guys just do what you've done in the past, we straight. That's all. That's the simplicity of it.
I'm real straight right now. I'm not sure about LeBron, though, because I am loving this. I just got to watch LeBron do a podcast with Allie Clifton and his 2 buddies he used to play with. And he's sipping tequila. I hope he's not hungover on Christmas Day. I hope not. I doubt it, but I sure hope not. And there are actually 2 elephants in the room, as Chris pointed out. There's one because, yeah, LeBron, you got younger, but you got way dicier in your locker room because you have 2 marquee acquisitions. We just talked about Schroeder. He just blatantly, publicly said, maybe delusionally, I want LeBron's job. LeBron's going to play off the ball. And by the way, my agent he took my demands to Rob Pelinka, and Rob signed off on it. That's what Schroeder said. Signed off, I'm going to be the starting point guard, and I bring the ball up, and I will set up the plays and run the plays so LeBron can get his shots.
We lied to him.
Okay, well, something is amiss here. And Schroeder is not one to be messed with because he is his own little man, and he will make a stink if he thinks he got lied to. Meanwhile, the Clippers said enough of Montrezl Harrell. He became a malcontent. He's challenging everybody in the locker room. He thinks he's better than he is. He is a liability on defense, especially against the Denver Nuggets. And now you have embraced him. You took our problem. It was addition by subtraction for the Clippers, and now he is yours. And when you win Sixth Man of the Year, all of a sudden you're thinking, man, I should be fifth man, fourth man, third man. I might should be second man of the year.
Nobody thinking like that.
Yeah, and he will challenge AD, and he will challenge LeBron because occasionally they're a little too cool and they're a little too nonchalant. And sometimes they don't close games with ferocity, with any dog in them. And now you got Montrez ready. He's going to be nipping right at their heels. Well, what's up with that?
Let me ask you a question. Who's Trez's agent? Who's his agent?
Yeah. He's another one of those guys.
What do you mean, one of those guys?
Well, KCP stayed. He got way overpaid because clutch clients don't count against the salary cap.
You're very right.
So Clutch got his money.
So
AD got his money because he's a clutch client.
We don't do infighting.
Oh, okay.
We play hard. The problem that, and I said this, the problem that Lou Will and Trez had with Kawhi and Paul George, he didn't believe they practiced. First of all, they probably didn't practice, and then they didn't believe they played hard all the time.
How about LeBron and AD saying we don't do shoot-arounds anymore?
Okay, they don't.
How's Trez going to like that? If I get my ass up out of bed, you better get yours up. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
The difference...
Go ahead, Chris.
The difference is the leadership. The Clippers would tell you now, they like their team, and I think they will be second best in the West to start the season. I got them slightly above Denver. But they'll tell you now, they don't have leadership. That's the problem. They don't have leadership, and they certainly didn't have leadership last year, so no one could handle the locker room. Now, look at LeBron. Look at the people that have been reputed.
Don't look at me.
Reputed to be problem childs that LeBron's handled.
That's what we do.
He's handled DeMarcus Cousins. He's handled J.R. Smith. He's handled Rajon Rondo.
Yep.
He's handled Kyrie Irving. Even Kyrie's had issues everywhere else, but with LeBron, he was able to win the championship. I know they split up eventually, but they got a ring. So LeBron has practiced handling these guys. So I don't see problems in that locker room. When you sign up to play with LeBron, you know it's a championship or bust season.
That's it.
And Schroeder's got to understand, if I win a championship, average 16, 17, off the bench or starting,
the money going to be there.
I'm going to get paid in free agency. That's got to be his mentality.
That's it. That's how it's going to work.
And allow me to add one other point that LeBron made. He's gloating about, we've got a former defensive player of the year in Marc Gasol. He won it in the 1800s. That's how long ago it was. It was in the 1800s. That's how old he is. And by the way, LeBron is now dropping hints. We may add his big brother, Powell. He's 40 years old. He's in mothballs. He quit a long time ago. He's not going to come out of mothballs.
But, Chris, Skips keeps talking about Serge Ibaka. Did you know James Harden averaged more blocks per game than Serge Ibaka? And so did Marc Gasol? A blocker. Yeah. How you 7 foot tall and a point guard average more blocks than you?
Yeah. How about averaging 16 and 8 coming off the bench and shooting 39%?
Hold on. We got two guys that average 18 and 19 points, and the other average 18 and a half coming off the bench.
Yeah, but my guy is a good guy who loves Kawhi Leonard and will fit in.
All your guy can do is cook and wear nice clothes. That's all your guy can do. That's all Serge do.
Because hey, he's been there and done all that.
He wants to be Virgil Abloh.
Yeah,
that's all he wants to be.
No mercy.
In 3 days, it's the fight event of the fall as undefeated Errol Spence Jr. takes on Danny Garcia for the World Welterweight Championship. Available on pay-per-view or buy the fight on foxsports.com/PPV and watch on any screen you want. Well, for the first time since his run with the Warriors ended with an Achilles injury 2 seasons ago, Kevin Durant said he feels good while playing. KD said he feels solid and isn't going to be focused on avoiding injury again, but instead playing as hard as he can, and he will deal with the results later. Chris Broussard is still with us. So, Chris, what do you expect from KD this season?
I don't expect KD to miss a beat. I expect KD to be as great as he would have been had he never been injured in his 32nd year season, his 14th year in the league. I think he's going to be tremendous for several reasons. Number one, he will have been off, 18 months?
18 months.
18 months. Usually guys come back somewhere between 8 to 12 months, I guess on average about 10. He will have had almost twice as much time off. So I don't expect the Achilles to be any problem whatsoever. People might point to a Kobe Bryant, a Chauncey Billups, who were never quite the same after their Achilles injuries. They were much older. KD was 30 when he got injured. He's 32 now. Kobe was 34. Chauncey Billups was 35. I know Elton Brand didn't come back as well. He was 28 when he got hurt, but he was a much different player. His body,
Much bigger
he was
man.
big, he was heavy. Yeah, KD's body should have no problem with the Achilles. Remember, guys, Dominique Wilkins. Dominique was 32 when he ruptured his Achilles, came back 10 months later, and was a two-time All-Star after that, averaged 30 points a game the year after he got back. And, of course, Nick's game, athleticism, explosion, all of that. That's what his game was. KD's game is based on skill, is based on his height, being 7 feet tall. His Achilles is not going to hinder his jump shot, his handle, his basketball IQ. He's going to be great. And remember, the one thing besides, he always says, I just want to be the best player I can be, improve every day. We get that. But you know what else motivates him as much as anything? LeBron James. And he saw what LeBron did last year. KD would love nothing more than to beat LeBron with LeBron's ex-running mate. Oh, man, he is coming out motivated. He's got a dog with him in Kyrie. That's his feeling. And they got a lot of talent elsewhere. Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Joe Harris can shoot it. They added more shooting with Landry Shamet. So I expect KD to be great. I think he'll be in the MVP race. We'll see how it goes, but I give him a shot at coming out and winning that MVP award.
I agree with everything you just said, and that's what I was saying in the beginning. Yeah, he had ruptured his Achilles, but did it shrink him 5 inches? He's still going to be 7 foot tall. He's still going to shoot that ball at a 9-foot apex. He's still going to be able to shoot the three, mid-range game, put the ball on the floor, get to the rim. You foul him, he's still going to go make 89, 90% of his free throws. So what's different? He's a couple of years older. But his game is not predicated on speed. His game is not predicated on, as you mentioned, Dominique playing above the rim. That's not what Kevin Durant has never been that. So he's not going to be impacted like someone else that relied on speed, that someone else. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how John Wall, because John Wall's game is predicated on speed. John Wall can get up and down the court. So we'll see the impact that the Achilles injury had on him. And remember, Skip, he's been out 2 years also because he hurt his knee, and then he tore his Achilles in the process of healing the knee.
Yep.
So that would be interesting. But Kevin Durant's great. And Kevin Durant can play with anybody. He spent 8 years with Russ, and he was an MVP. He averaged 20, had won 4 scoring titles. So Kevin Durant being able to play with someone, that's never the issue. My concern is Kyrie's health, because what we've seen over the last 3 years, he's missed 112 games with regular season and playoffs. But I have absolutely no concerns with Kevin Durant coming back being Kevin Durant.
So you two guys who really, really know basketball acknowledge that Kevin Durant will not miss a beat. So if he left as the best player on the planet, he returns as the best player on the planet. Am I right?
No, he did not leave as that, Skip.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
By all accounts.
He did not.
He won back-to-back NBA Finals MVPs in LeBron's house. He upstaged him and outplayed him twice in a row in his house. And he was on track to do it again the last year that he played in Golden State. Look what he did. That year in the regular season, he averaged 6 assists at 7 feet tall. In the 12 playoff games he played before he unfortunately went down, Look at what he did in those 12 playoff games. He averaged 32 points a game, which led all the playoffs in scoring. He made 44% of his threes and 90% of his free throws. When has LeBron ever dreamed of making 44 and 90% from three in the free throw line? Help me out.
Skip.
Come on.
Skip, we're not talking about it. We just said the man's going to come back and be fine, and now you're going to try to take a shot at
I'm
go.
taking it there because LeBron got the greatest break of his career a year ago, or it hadn't even been a year ago, last season, when in the bubble, there was no KD. At the last second, I thought KD and Kyrie were going to say, you know what, we're ready to go. We'll come back and join all this talent you just talked about that Chris detailed. And then you would have had a problem in the bubble.
We wouldn't have no problem,
Yeah,
Skip.
you would. You'd have
Skip,
to run into that.
Skip, you got to play together. You got to build some chemistry. You just can't throw, we got a whole bunch of great guys out there. We just going to throw them out there. How'd that work out for us in the Olympics?
Well, okay, so the reason you deserve an asterisk on your bubble championship is LeBron is right. It's always about health. So the Heat, they didn't have health. In Game 1, they lost their leading playoff scorer in Dragic and their heart and soul player in Bam. In Game 1, they're gone. Well, way to go. The injury god said, here, LeBron, we're going to hand you a championship.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you this before you go, Skip? Did they put an asterisk on the Golden State Warriors' first championship when Kyrie and Kevin Love went out? Did anybody put an asterisk on it? I just need to know. Just to
Not
be
at all.
Well, you had the
Toronto-
best player on the planet.
So you see
Well,
what
that's
he
what
did?
you told me then.
So-
2015. That's the best stretch of LeBron's career, those first 3 games.
Skip, if that was the case, Kevin Durant should have won because you said Kevin Durant's been the best player on the planet. And he was winning no titles until he got with other great players.
Well, he was stuck with Russell Westbrook.
So now he was stuck.
Well, he was.
Now
You
he
know
was
it, and
stuck.
I know it.
So Russ ain't a great player.
Well, he's great. He's the biggest ball hog in the history of
But
basketball.
Russ-
Well, he is. He's great if you give him the basketball.
So what did that say
and
about a guy
Kevin
that-
Durant won an MVP in spite of that guy.
If you want to say KD's a better shooter than LeBron,
Yeah.
we'll all agree with that.
Yeah.
If LeBron would agree with that, but that's it. When KD had the responsibility that LeBron had, that LeBron has pretty much every year, they never won. That's in Oklahoma City. When he went to Golden State, come on, he didn't have nearly the responsibility
Oh,
that
come on.
LeBron had.
Seriously?
He was playing with a juggernaut.
Wait, Chris.
A juggernaut. They would have won it as great as KD is. They would have won it without
The
him.
first
Let's
finals
just be honest.
in Golden State versus Cleveland, the weight of the NBA world was on those thin shoulders of Kevin Durant because everybody wanted to see him fall on his face in the finals. Am I right about that? And instead, he shot it right in LeBron's face.
Let me tell you how the weight of the world would have been on his shoulders. If aliens had kidnapped Steph Curry, then the weight of the world would have been on his shoulders.
Who was the best player on that team by far?
Right.
By far, it was Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Who did they
He was
call?
the best
Who did you
player.
tell me? Wait a second.
was
Draymond
the
in the
best
parking
player.
lot after they blew their 3-1 lead to LeBron. He's calling KD, and you said he was crying. Come save us.
But you know what, Chris? They couldn't hear each other because KD was crying also because he had just blown a 3-1 lead to Golden State. Both of them were crying. Hey, hold on, calm down. I can't hear you.
KD wanted them just as much as they wanted
Exactly.
him. There's no doubt about
Match
it.
made in heaven.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, well, he's back. The best player is back. And now you got a roadblock. Now you have the biggest 7-foot roadblock in your way for a championship. And if you can go win this one, I'll give it up to you.
No, you didn't.
If everybody stays healthy and the best player on the planet gets to the finals the way I think they will, they're the second favorite, Fox Bet says, to win the East because they got the Bucs just above them, tied with the Clippers at number 2, right? So if they do rise up and win the East, which I think they have a great shot of doing, then you would have a quality opponent in the finals. And we'll see if you can overcome the best player
Everybody
on the
that makes it to the finals is a quality opponent.
You sound like a coach.
That is a quality opponent. Hold on. Don't you got to beat somebody 4 times to get? Don't you got to beat somebody 4 times? So in other words, to get to the finals, you have to have beaten 3 teams at least 4 times, Skip, to get to the NBA Finals.
Well, how hard was it to beat the Heat without
The
Dragic
East
and
is
Bam?
tough. If KD wants to prove he's better than LeBron, this is the year to do it.
Yep, I agree.
Beat LeBron in the
Here we go.
finals. You know, where each of you got another star, AD, Kyrie.
Yep, here we go.
Pretty, even rosters.
Yep.
Then that's
I
how
agree.
you prove it.
Here we go.
Okay.
KD for
He'll fall just
MVP,
short.
KD for Finals MVP.
But guess what? LeBron will win the finals this year, and guess what Skip would say? Michael Jordan never lost. He was 6-0. Michael Jordan would have swept through it. He'd have won all 16 games in the playoffs.
Well, that is true.
See? You see what I'm saying, Grace? So, LeBron
You're just stating facts. How can I disagree with that?
5 for 5, baby. That's what we have. Yep.
That's
5
what it is?
MVPs. 5
How about
chips.
this?
I just can't believe
6 losses.
we're 20 days away from watching
You're a
the
hater,
NBA
man. This
back
joke
in
a
action.
hater.
You guys are done with your hand motions. Chris, we appreciate your time. As always, we'll check in with you soon.
No mercy.
Well, Dak Prescott's price tag may be rising thanks to the Cowboys not looking so good without him. Dallas is averaging nearly 18 fewer points and 200 fewer yards per game without Dak in the lineup. And according to the Dallas Morning News, he should remain the starter for the foreseeable future. In order for Dak to sign a long-term deal, though, the Joneses will have to, quote, understand they're not winning this negotiation. In fact, they're going to get their butts kicked. The sooner they accept that, the better. Shannon, do you agree?
Absolutely. The price is never coming down. Instead of what they tried to do is that, like, we'll give you 500,000, we'll give you more, we'll give you $1 million more than what Jared Goff. But what they didn't realize is Jared Goff had the 4th year, a 5th year option. So he was willing to sacrifice some money to get long-term security. They didn't do that with Dak. Dak says, I don't have a 4th year. I don't have a 5th year option. Skip, you should have just went ahead because they knew where the market was going. Because the only way you can keep him is to franchise him, which is going to put you at somewhere around 38, 39 million. Dak comes back next year. He wins the division. You franchised him twice. It's going to cost you 50+ million. Well, you don't want to do that. You're going to end up having to pay Dak Prescott, a guy that's probably not going to have an MVP on his resume. At the time you give him a long-term deal, more than what Kansas City paid Patrick Mahomes. Only because you were trying to be cheap and thought you could get away paying the guy $33 million. You should have just went ahead. Skip, in a negotiation, you want someone to sign the contract early, you got to offer them something they can't refuse. $34 million, he could have refused it. But if you just went ahead and took a leap, says, you know what, Dak? We believe in you. $37 million.
No, it was 40 plus. 40 plus.
Skip.
For 5 years.
Skip.
42.
Skip. Y'all tried to penny pinch him and tried to give him 500.
Penny pinch him at 36?
No. Now it's 36.
Yep. That's what I heard.
The
That's what I
reports in
read.
the beginning said they're willing to do a Jared Goff, a Carson Wentz type deal. Maybe $1 million more. That's what it was. It was 33, 34. Now he didn't sign. Well, they had 36. No, you didn't. Because you should have. Deshaun Watson got $39 million with the 4th year option and with a 4th year and a 5th year option.
He's up in the 40s in overall average.
So
Sean, and he deserves it because he is that good.
And to make a long story short, the price isn't coming down. Everybody thought, Skip, you look at the housing market. We're in a pandemic, and the L.A. private housing market is going through the roof. So if you think...
That's not true. There's some neighborhoods where it's coming down.
Well, it ain't coming down.
I know.
It ain't coming down the neighborhood I'm in.
I know.
It ain't coming down the neighborhood
Well,
I'm in.
you live up in Bel Air.
Don't worry about where I live. Stop telling me where I live. Because coming down. But anyway, Skip, if you think this price is coming down for this guy, because you see what y'all look like? You see what your quarterback look like? It ain't coming down, Skip.
I saw my quarterback win at Minnesota a couple of weeks ago.
And I saw him lose at home to a guy on one leg. He lost to a guy. Alex Smith hadn't played really, started one game in 2 years, and that dude hung
After he
41.
lost both starting tackles in the first drive.
You didn't say anything. Hold on. You don't say anything about Wentz.
Wound up with 2 undrafted kids, a rookie and a second-year player at tackle.
What are those tackles in Philly?
Interesting.
Are they any good?
Listen, they aren't as bad as those two.
Equally.
Trust me.
Skip, the price ain't coming down, and you know it.
All right. This is so ironic because you have little to no respect for Dak Prescott because last year you gave him 6 Fs in his last 13 starts.
Brady got 4 this year.
So I love Dak Prescott way more than you do, but I don't overlove him. I don't lose all objectivity. I've told you he's around the 10th best quarterback in the league. Sometimes he might be 9th or 10th. But I can't give him any better than that, so I can't give him $42 million. Jerry Jones did exactly the right thing. He dug in and said, I'm sorry, That's too rich for even my blood.
Okay.
And now he looks like a genius because of what's going on in Philadelphia with your guy. Give it to him, Wentz. They are, every story I read, we're stuck with Carson Wentz.
But let me ask you a question,
Stuck.
Skip.
And wait a second. How about what's going on with the other guy who got paid? How about Jared Goff? Sean McVay is admitting publicly that he at least considered pulling him out of the Miami game in which he turned it over 4 times in the first half, and considered this past Sunday in pulling him out of a San Francisco game in which they lost to the 49ers, their arch rival in the division, for the 4th time. That's correct.
Right.
They are stuck with Jared Goff just the way your Eagles are stuck with Carson Wentz.
But you Skip. If you don't sign Dak Prescott, if you don't sign Dak Prescott, you're stuck without a quarterback, which is even worse.
Okay, so what are you supposed to do? I know where this is coming from with you. You want my team to dramatically, dangerously overpay Dak Prescott and get stuck with him for 5 years when he can't live up to that kind of money.
Well, then, so just move on. If you don't believe you can live up to that kind of money, just move on. Why wasting your time?
Just hang in there. Give him the tag and give him another tag.
So in other words, you want to give him a tag at $38 million and another tag at about 53.
And I want to see the second tag. No, the second one is 38. Okay, that's the second one, not the third one. Not the third one.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, you don't want to do that. You're going to have to fish or cut bait. Okay, you'll find out what he is because he just suffered a career-threatening ankle.
Broken bones is nothing.
Okay, well,
it's not. If it was an Alex Smith, I would give you. I would say that. But that was an Alex Smith type deal.
And I think even you would admit that with Dak Prescott, we've seen this alarming pattern in his game. And again, you love the James Beard Award. Is he not the chef of the year when it comes to empty calories? Because that's all you ever tell me. He's the chef of the year.
You just told me your guy just did the exact same thing, and you heaped praise on him.
What are you
Tom Brady.
About? Okay, he almost came back and won the game.
That's what Dak almost does.
No, he doesn't almost do that because we've seen this alarming trend in which they fall woefully, dangerously, hopelessly behind. And it started a year ago because it happened again and again and again. Remember Green Bay? I'm going back 2 years ago. They went up 31-3 in the first half. And as you always say, didn't Dak get the ball? Didn't the quarterback get the ball?
So what was the final score of that game?
Well, they came back and within a touchdown.
Okay, so he almost won it.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Tom was down 3 with 4:10 left, and the defense couldn't get the ball back. That Green Bay game would have required a field goal made, which the guy gagged. Right. Remember that? And then an onside kick recovery, which is virtually impossible.
Kind of like what Dallas did against Atlanta. Which means get a touchdown, get the onside, and kick a field goal. Okay.
I'm just being honest for Cowboy Nation right now. In his last 17 starts, Dak Prescott is 6-11. And if we look at last year in 3 big road games against Teddy Bridgewater's Saints, and then against Tom Brady's New England, and then against Carson Wentz's Philadelphia, they're big games. He scored 10, 9, and 9 in those games. And then fell woefully behind at Jets 21-3 to the Vikings at home 14-0.
Did they almost come back and win those games?
And then Buffalo 26-7. No. Chicago fell behind 24-7 and then 31-14 in the fourth quarter. They were all empty calories, and you gave him Fs for all those games. And then this year they start off 1-3, and the only reason they had the 1 was a miracle happened at the end of the Atlanta game in which they fell behind 29-10 at halftime and 39-24 entering the fourth quarter. And it took a miracle onside kick recovery to save that game. And by the way, in the one game Dak played where they came back to get the lead, it was against the New York Football Giants. They were down 17-3 in the second quarter. They had come back to lead 24-23 when Dak went down and out for the season. And it took Andy Dalton coming in to save the day in that game.
But this is what
I can't make the case. I can't genuinely, authentically make any case for Dak Prescott being a top 5 quarterback, top 3 quarterback.
But this is the problem that I'm having with this. Last year when we was having this discussion and I say there was empty calories, you said no, they weren't, and you was giving him B's and A's.
No, I'm giving B's for some of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why?
And I also gave him some C's.
Okay, but I'm saying, but they were all empty calories. Empty calories shouldn't get B's and C's.
Yeah, I mean, he can be a valiant warrior coming back in those games.
Kind of like Tom Brady, right?
Okay. No, not like Tom Brady, because that was a ball game in the second half because he was just lighting you up. That was a game. That was a competitive battle.
Skip.
That wasn't a long shot for him to come back. He came back. It was a done deal. It's 27-24 with 4 minutes and 10 seconds left. How can you say that?
Hold on.
Did it take a miracle at the end of the game? No, it just took the defense getting the ball back within 2 minutes.
I'm having.
Tom Brady would have won that game. If you gave him the ball with 2 minutes left, I promise you, he would have at least tied that game and sent it to overtime. He was on fire in the second half.
I'm having a hard time. My definition of come from behind victory and your definition of come from behind victory is something entirely different. I thought you actually had to be behind, get the lead, and win the game. So not get within 3 points and lose.
Dak was behind to Cleveland this year at home, 41-14.
Yes.
You like that? That's not what happened at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, hold on. If you don't mind me asking, he got the game within what? If the defense could have got him the ball back,
it was a miracle. It would have taken a miracle. Well, it could have. But Atlanta was a miracle. Even you said it the next day.
But see, Skip, why is it that every time that Dak would have needed a miracle, but Tom Brady wouldn't have needed a miracle?
Okay, they're down 17-0 after one, and here they came. They won the last 3 quarters, 24-10,
Skip,
because Brady was on fire.
Skip, you do realize
it was a battle.
Hold on.
This is about Dak Prescott, and you can't defend it.
Hold on.
You know, Jerry Jones did the right thing.
Dallas was down 40. Wasn't Dallas Cowboys down 41-17?
To who?
To Cleveland.
41-14.
41-14. Yeah. And they came all the way back, and if they get a stop.
Did I ever think that was a game? No, I did not.
But you
Go look at it. Go tell me it was a game.
But you thought, Skip, all they had to do was stop Odell. If they stop Odell, they didn't get the ball back.
27-24? With
Skip.
4 minutes left?
Oh, okay. So, in other words, you needed your defense to do... in Tampa, you needed the defense to get a stop. Dak needed his defense to get a stop. Yeah. But that was a miracle. But Tom Brady didn't need a miracle.
Okay, well, Mahomes was starting to choke at the end of that game. Well, he was. He missed a wide-open receiver that could have been the final
Let me ask you a question. If a guy's going to choke, do you believe the coach will let him throw 2 passes when the team doesn't have a timeout? The team doesn't have a timeout. That guy's choking. You throw 2 passes.
Yep.
That don't look like no choke job to me.
Closed the deal against a defense that has been torched for 3 straight home games.
Hey, what about your quarterback? What about your quarterback? Where did your quarterback rank in the interception list this year in the NFL?
I don't know. This is about Dak Prescott. And since you lost this argument, you got to change the subject.
Skip.
It's okay.
Skip.
Next question.
It's simple as this. You got no choice. The price ain't coming down. If you think you're going to get Dak for less than the $40 million, you're fooling yourself.
Jerry played it perfectly.
Skip, either you pay him or somebody's going to pay him $40 million. So, in other words, Dak wins. You make it seem like the Cowboys are the only one that got money. The 31 other teams got money.
Well, just watch the tape and you'll start saying,
I tell you what. So, if he's not worth the money, if he can't live up to it, why did Jerry put the tag on him?
Well, you just keep playing it out to see if he figures it out.
Why? He can't play. He can't play. You already figured that out.
I didn't give him Fs. You did.
But hold on.
You gave him Fs.
He can't play.
You're disqualified.
He can't play, though.
So that's what you said.
So why you
6 Fs in the last 13 games?
I just want to know why Jerry keep tagging him. Why he's going to tag him again after a career-ending injury? Why would you tag a guy coming off a career-ending injury?
You know why?
Exactly.
Right, well, Skip said he wants to change the subject, so that's where I come into the equation.
No mercy.
Tom Brady had nearly 350 passing yards and 3 touchdowns on Sunday. However, it came in a losing effort to the Chiefs. And to make matters worse, Patrick Mahomes had over 100 more yards without any interceptions compared to Brady's 2 picks. Former All-Pro quarterback Antonio Cromartie is joining us now. So here's the thing, Antonio. You've now had a few days to think about it while Skip and Shannon, they have been battling over this for the last couple of days. So what letter grade would you give Brady for his performance Sunday against Mahomes?
I gave him a D-.
What?
And the reason I said that, I went back and watched the game, and I watched actually the coach's copy just to see how was he doing, what reads was he making. He missed a lot of wide open passes. If you look at in the first half, he was really trying to force feed Mike Evans the whole entire time when he had other guys wide open. Even on crossing routes. I give you an example. 5:03 left in the third quarter. He throws the interception. I think he was throwing to Scotty Miller. He had Tyler Johnson wide open in the middle of the field where he could have made that play and kept the drive going. But it's things like that he's not doing. Even on the first series, on the 3rd and 6, he had Antonio Brown wide open. He tried to force the ball to Mike Evans on a curl route. He had Antonio Brown on a pivot route. So it's things like that. That's why I gave him a D-. He's not making the right reads. He's not being confident when he's throwing the ball. He's not stepping into his throws, and he has time. He had time to make the reads that he needed to. If you go back and just watch the things that he's doing, he's playing one side of football. He's already dictating where he's going to throw the ball just by his body language and the way he turns the ball. So I'm expecting more from the GOAT, if that's what everyone wants to call him right now. But he's not playing nowhere near GOAT status right now.
I got one quick question. Are you saying he's not the GOAT?
I mean, it's a lot of people you call the GOAT.
Oh, a lot of people. Who else?
Who else you can call Aaron Rodgers the GOAT?
Okay. So Tom Brady is not the GOAT, says Antonio Cromartie.
I'm not saying he's not the GOAT. I say he's not playing GOAT-ish. You're not seeing the things that he's not playing. You can tell he's trying to force the ball down the field, something that he's not used to doing, and he's not making the right reads. Like early on in the game, he's forcing the ball to Mike Evans. Why? Why are you forcing the ball? He threw the ball. Think about this. There were 5 plays in that first series. All 3 passes went to who? Mike Evans.
Could we please see the one that he threw to Mike Evans that went right through Mike Evans' hands that would have changed the game because it would have set up a touchdown that would have gone ahead 7-3?
There's plenty of things that went on.
Yeah. Did you see this throw, Mr. Cromartie? I can't throw it any better than this. This is so sweet. It goes right down the chimney, right through Mike Evans' hands. It would have been a 40-yard gain and set them up in the red zone.
So Skip, you're gonna pick one play when Tom Brady missed 15 reads.
That's what he does.
Okay, so help me out here. I watched Tom Brady in the second half dominate this game. I saw Tom Brady wind up with 369 yards passing in only 23 minutes time of possession. He had 5 of 20-plus yards. 369 in 23 minutes. If I extrapolate that out to the 37 minutes that Patrick Mahomes had the football, that would mean 555 yards passing for Tom Brady. That would be the all-time record, but he missed 15 reads. Maybe he should have thrown for 700 yards. I don't know.
If was a fifth, would be all what?
Well, how about if the defense had just gotten him the ball back? He cut it to 27-24 with 2 75-yard drives. He was missing reads everywhere. But he threw another one to Mike Evans for a 31-yard touchdown, if we could see that. I don't know. Maybe I dreamed this one. A 31-yard touchdown, and it was the sweetest throw of the day. This is actually double coverage. He says, I got this. How sweet is that? That's the GOAT for you.
So now we're gonna blame it on the defense, right? When we know,
there we go.
If you watch the game,
and then
he missed 15 reads in the game.
He force-fed Mike Evans for another touchdown from 7 yards out, and it was 27-24 with 4 minutes and 10 seconds left in the game. And his sorry defense couldn't get the ball back. If it had, he was going to go win that game, and he might have. I don't know. He might have missed 8 more reads in the final drive, but I think he would have got it in the end zone.
Crow, do you notice when Tom Brady does not give the ball back to the opposing team's offense, is Tom Brady playing keep away? Tom Brady being great. He never says anything about the sorry defense as long as Tom Brady is on the end that's kicking butt. But when somebody else is kicking Tom Brady's defense butt, that defense is sorry. You didn't say the defense was sorry when that Jamel Dean ran that pick six back against Green Bay.
Wait a second. Have you ever seen a sorrier strategy than Todd Bowles, who Crow knows very well? Todd Bowles tried to single cover Tyreek in the first quarter with Carlton Davis, who can't run. Jamel Dean can run. He was out with a concussion. So let's just put Carlton solo on Tyreek.
Let me get into the game plan of a Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles, you use David as a physical guy to use him press to try to get the leverage off of him. They move Tyreek Hill around a lot. No matter how you look at it. If you look at the very first play, they ran him in a short motion. A zoom motion across the formation. Nobody covered him. Nobody. To whoever number 23 was on this defense was playing a cover 2.
Bunny
and
Murphy.
Actually in a single high safety.
Right.
So you got to think about it. It's mistakes on them. It's not the call. It's about the execution of a call. It doesn't matter what a coach is called. If it's not executed the right way, it's not going to look like it's supposed to.
Okay, so you're saying that Carlton Davis didn't have him in single coverage much of the first quarter?
Look, Davis could have made so many plays on the ball, he never looked for the ball because he was intimidated by Tyreek Hill.
Who isn't?
Speed. Well,
you can't play corner.
You can't play that way in this league.
You can't play corner.
Come on. He's the fastest man in football. It's not even close.
It doesn't matter. At one point in time, Mike Wallace was one of the fastest guys in the NFL. And guess what I had to do? I had to cover him as a rookie for 18 9 routes. Did they throw the ball to him? No, but that's not the point. It's not understanding. It's just understanding what you're going to get into this game.
But Carlton Davis is no Cromartie. He's just not. It's not even close.
But it doesn't matter. He was intimidated by a guy, and he could not go out there and play the way he wanted to go play.
He caught 203 yards of receiving yards in the first quarter. 203 yards. Who's ever done that?
Hold on. So is that the call or is that the play? Is that the player?
It sure looked to me like it was mostly the player.
But you know what, Crow?
Listen, my point exactly.
I want to get because your grade, you gave him a D-. I gave him an F because here's the thing. Tom Brady actually threw for 345 yards. 327 of those yards came when Brady was down by double digits. Oh, no. On his first 4 drives, he had 1 first down. He was 0 for 4 on 3rd down. That would allow him to stay on the field. In the first three...
What about the Mike Evans drop? Are we not just going to sweep that under the carpet?
In the first 3 quarters, he had 10 points on 2 drives. He only had 2 drives with 2 or more first downs. Skip. Now, this is what I was just trying to somebody tell me the GOAT with Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, and Rob Gronkowski scored 24 points on a defense that the Raiders got 40 and 31.
A defense that is ranked 6th in the NFL in points allowed. That defense. Thank you.
Hold on.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, hold on.
You're wrong again.
Crow. So let me get this right. A defense that's ranked 6th in the league in points allowed gave up 40 to the Raiders, 31 to the Raiders, and 31 to Carolina Panthers. And your sorry team got 24.
Well, guess what, Tom Brady? I want our viewing audience to understand this man gave him an F, and that man, Cromartie, gave him a D-. And in the last 3 quarters against the Kansas City Chiefs, 6th-ranked defense, he threw for 313 yards and 3 touchdowns, going 22 of 31. But he must have missed 20 reads.
If you don't mind me asking, how many points were they down? Were they in the lead?
They were down 17 to nothing after 1 quarter. And then guess what? The last 3 quarters, they outscored Patrick Mahomes 24 to 10. In the second half, Patrick Mahomes threw for a grand total of 103. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So you fail to realize you can turn into a passing offense when you're behind. So what you gonna do? So basically, you're just padding your stats because now you're
padding your stats. You got it back to 3 points with 4:10 left. Padding your stats. That's insane.
The only thing you can do is throw the ball. When you're down by 17, you're not gonna stick to the game plan.
The Brady hate on the show is overwhelming. I need to put my mask on. I need my mask.
Anytime Brady got outplayed. So what?
Thank you.
Did he really get outplayed? I don't know.
Monday, let me tell you what Skip did. Skip gave Brady the same grade as Mahomes with 2 interceptions and 100 fewer yards.
Yeah. And you know what? Tom Brady did all this with one hand tied behind his back. Because do they screen pass the way Brady loves to screen? None. Do they run any motion? They don't motion because Bruce Arians does not believe in it. Do they swing pass it? No, they don't do that because they don't have a swing pass catching back. For Tom Brady.
Jones went 37 yards on the swing pass.
That wasn't a swing pass. That was a downfield pass.
But that's the point. Brady is not making the right reads.
And finally, do they play action, which is Brady's bread and butter? No, they don't, because they rank 28th in rushing in the NFL. Help me out. What am I missing here? This was a masterpiece by Tom Brady for the last 3 quarters. And if Mike Evans would have caught the first ball, we might really be having a conversation.
What does Kansas City rank in rushing?
I don't care.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter. If you got that, one team had 15, the other guy had 12.
I'll bet they're above 28.
I don't know if we figured anything out here, Antonio, but we appreciate you joining us.
We did.
I'm not so sure about that.
He got a D-.
We appreciate you joining us and your grade. We'll check in with you very soon.
No mercy.
Friday night, the 4th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers take on in-state rival Marquette at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. I am a big Wisconsin Badger fan. Born and raised with all my family. Parents met there. Well, this guy plays in Wisconsin. Aaron Rodgers became the 11th quarterback to break 50,000 yards passing over the weekend. And the Packers quarterback took the opportunity to make sure critics knew he wasn't done. During an interview, Rodgers said, quote, "I don't think I'm done by any stretch of the imagination, even though some people may have thought so in the offseason." So, Shannon, was this a shot at Packers management?
No, it's not just at them. Yeah, it was a shot at them, but it was also a shot at people like sit across from me, Skip Bayless. Because Skip Bayless said last year Aaron Rodgers had declined. He said Tom Brady.
His stats had declined.
Skip Bayless said Tom Brady had a better season. Pro Football Focus said coming into 2020, Aaron Rodgers was not a top 50 NFL player.
Correct.
People at home, let that sink in. Aaron Rodgers entering the 2020 season. But this is the same Pro Football Focus that said Chris Godwin graded the best receiver last season. Better than Julio, better than D-Hop, better than Michael Thomas. Said that. So absolutely, because, and this is another reason why he's upset. Why you drafted a guy to sit on the bench, how does Jordan Love help us win a championship this year? How does he help us win a championship next year? He doesn't. And so instead of wasting that draft pick, you could have gotten me some help, maybe a tight end, maybe a wide receiver, maybe some defensive help. You could have gotten someone that can participate this year that help us win the title. But that's not what you did. You went out there and got a quarterback because you thought I was done. And now the same publication that said you weren't a top 50 player says to this point you're the MVP. Damn, what kind of grade did you do? That's like
well, you have the chance to go out and prove somebody wrong. You can grade better.
It's kind of like, you know what? A teacher give me like, I just get my test back and I got a B on it. Well, why didn't I get a day? I don't see any red marks. I don't see anything that was corrected. So why you got a B? Pro Football Focus don't tell you how they grade. They just say, well, this is what he graded. Well, this is what he did.
They break it down.
They don't break nothing down.
Third level. Yeah,
they don't break that, Brian.
Well, all I know is the basic stats, completion percentage and QBR, had declined each of the last 4 years. I read them with my own eyes, and I think I see pretty well because I got LASIK.
Well, you didn't see well enough that Brady was declining.
Well, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, who we're talking about, so that's all I go on. And all I went on was my eyes didn't lie when I watched Green Bay management trade up 4 spots.
Yes.
In the first round to number 26 overall to take Jordan Love, who I think he plays quarterback, right?
Yes.
Okay, what would that tell you?
Oh, so hold on.
So are you blaming me for that?
No,
did I do that?
But you co-signed it. You also said he was done.
No, I didn't say he's done. He's on the way out. They were looking for the future. They were also looking for the present.
You still believe that? You still believe that?
Because they needed some leverage over a guy who's way too cool for them. He's the ultimate diva, and they had no control over him because he just did whatever he wants to do. Oh, well, I think he locked back in.
Say it right now, Aaron Rodgers is done. Say it right now.
What are you talking about? I'm not saying he's done. I didn't say it then.
Yes, you did.
Well, Jordan Love wasn't going to start this year.
Oh, Skip Bayless.
He was on the way out, and they got the future, and they needed somebody. They needed somebody to relight the fire under Aaron Rodgers, and boy, did it work. I congratulate Green Bay management. That was the move of the year. That relit his pilot light.
Well, let me ask you a question. What leverage they got? Release him. If you don't release him, you'd have to keep him. You could have released him.
How long did Aaron Rodgers sit before he took over for Brett Favre? 4 years. Where was Aaron Rodgers drafted? 24th. Jordan Love 26th. So now
you feel comfortable saying Jordan Love is going to be Aaron Rodgers?
No, in 3 years he'll be a starter.
So I want you to say Aaron Rodgers. I want you to say right now Tom Brady's playing better than Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he's not, obviously.
Why not?
Except head-to-head, he just absolutely annihilated him.
Kind of like my guy did your guy. Kind of like my guy did your guy.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Overall, he is not.
Yeah. Look.
Because he doesn't have near the defense even that Aaron Rodgers has had.
So who has more weapons? Who has more weapons?
And by the way,
who has more weapons?
Speaking of, well,
who has more weapons?
I'm glad you brought that up because, listen, Tom Brady has no Devontae Adams. There's nobody out there.
So Mike Evans is trash.
I didn't say he was trash. Is he better than Devontae? You tell me. Is he better?
Gronk.
Is he better than Devontae? No, says the Hall of Famer.
What is Gronk? You think Gronk is go tight end?
Well, he is.
Okay, he got him.
So what are you talking about?
Who has better weapons?
Okay, but that's a longevity thing. Go tight end. Wait. Are you saying Rob Gronkowski's the best tight end in football right now?
Where
would Rob Gronkowski rank among tight ends right now?
Obviously, I'd take Kelsey
you
over
would
here.
take 10.
I'll take Waller. No. I'm not taking 10 guys over Gronk.
Yeah, you would.
No, Gronk's still top 5.
Top 5?
Yes.
Really? I haven't seen that until Sunday. He had a big game Sunday. That was the first big game he's had.
Prior to the Rams game, he had gone 3 straight games with a touchdown. He was getting more and more opportunities.
So how do you explain that Aaron Rodgers, look, Green Bay is about Super Bowls. It's about Vince Lombardi and Brett Favre getting to Super Bowls.
Yes.
He hasn't been to one in 10 years, and management said, enough of this. We've had enough, and he stunk it up in the NFC Championship
So let me ask you a question. Had they given him the tools that he needed to operate like the quarterback that he is to get them to a Super Bowl? A simple yes or a simple no?
Well, what do you mean? Did he have the tools?
Did they give him?
I mean, Devontae Adams is a flat-out stud. He might be the second-best receiver to Tyree.
So Devontae Adams is a second-round pick. Okay, Lazard, what was Lazard? What is Valdez-Scantling?
Well,
Robert Tonyan is a 5th-round pick.
Can he play? Can Tonyan play? Yeah, he can really play. And by the way, how about that Aaron Jones? Is he not a little stud?
Oh, but
that's help.
But this is Aaron
How about
Jones
the offensive line? Is there a better offensive line than Green Bay's right now? Maybe Cleveland's. It's close, but I'll put Green Bay's up there because they can protect. Against the Chicago Bears pass rush, they kept Aaron completely clean, no hits. So you like that? Way to go.
All I ever said was Aaron Rodgers was still a top 2 or 3 quarterback. The publication
the numbers did not say that.
Did not, Skip.
Just didn't say that.
What did your eyes tell you?
My eyes, I read the stats.
Exactly, but what did your eyes tell you? The stats say Tom Brady is the... See, you see what you did? Now, you do stats for everybody else, but you use the eye test with Tom Brady.
All right.
That man bad.
No mercy.
Well, the Ravens have brought Dez Bryant back to their active roster after he has bounced back and forth between the practice squad. He faces the Steelers in a little less than 4 hours, and if he remains on the roster, he will square off against the Cowboys next week. That would be interesting. So, Shannon, how much of the 2014 Dez do you expect to see?
Not much, Skip. I mean, I haven't seen him run any routes. Everything that he's caught against the Tennessee Titans was at the line of scrimmage. I've only seen him catch with smoke routes. So I don't know if he can still high point the ball like he once could. I haven't seen him run an out route, slant route, dig route, pivot. I haven't seen him run anything other than smokes. So I don't really know. Do I expect to see 2014? Hell no. That's 6, 7 years ago, and he was out of the league for 2.5 years. So I absolutely not. I just want to see him catch the ball down the field.
Obviously, 2012, 13, and 14, you could have made a case he was the best receiver in football. And yet, he had the Liz Frank injury. He had a broken leg. He tore his Achilles. And yet now, I still think he can help Lamar, and even today, RG3, as a possession receiver, as a tight end of a wide receiver, who just turns around and catches 4 or 5 yard passes. If he could catch 4 passes today of 5 yards apiece, a couple of them for a first down.
No, Skip. He got to catch the ball down the field, Skip.
Okay, well, I see him as just a possession guy now. Like, they like those hybrid tight ends.
Yeah, but can we get 10 yards instead of like 2?
Well, Lamar needs all the help he can get right now.
Well, actually, going to be RG3, so you're right.
That's what I mean.
Wednesday
but next Monday, he's going to need help.
That is it for Undisputed Good Stuff today, guys. We're back at the same time tomorrow morning. Have a good day, guys.